demonstration of Wirecast.
Starting the stream up. People still won't be able to see it for another few minutes.
Okay. And so you got power to it? Awesome, thanks.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So he'll take questions from the YouTube and from the Twitter. And then will we see the image up there? Just to make sure yes, we should go mic check. But will that be on the yeah, it's a little far away. But it's saying what? It's not there now. Pull it up. Yeah, just so it was better when we could see it to make sure that it's on.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Right now we're just getting set.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. You could definitely be on the table, yeah. I just don't want to promise that because I'll forget. But for sure you can put on that. And I'll try to remember that. Thank you.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And Justin, can we have a sound check? Oh, yeah. They're getting cards.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
At least. You did such a good job. What would you like? During the evening. Have fun. Sure you'll walk.
Does it have
action and drama?
This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. I'm sure we met many, many years ago. Quite a while. Oh, no, no.
We never had anything like this.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And if you're here, I know it's going to be.
Yes.
We're actually here.
On the mic.
Okay.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Take your,
We're here, though. Do you want to see that? Well,
yeah.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
something that
This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I have no idea. I'm not sure it is.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
there's a couple.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast. is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Well, you know what it is? It's over there. Because it's live stream. There you go. So you're off. So maybe here.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
It's really not for the faint of heart. You know what, honestly, I've decided now that I'm
Yeah, I think there are only chances.
someone, there's just, you know, the hard ones. Some of them. Honestly, people who do the job.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Just ask for the same thing. And they just don't take no for it. Yes, so just have some friends who are like, and I guess it kind of makes sense because it's not exactly. It's not exactly. It's just that it is.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
They are determined. It is like I said.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
That means with the dog barks, I have to like lunge to fight. It's nice. It's nice. It's really. Did you guys have a hard time finding her?
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I got nervous. We got nervous.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Hey, Lisa.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Hi, nice to meet you.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
New friends. Jason is the Christian on the situation. For lack of a better word, that's fine.
Friends, we live here. I am married to him. We are they're checking
Oh, I think I need to give him his.
Are those available?
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
There you go. David.
I'll call some, let them know they'll be online. It's watch it online. Let them send you comments. Come on, Todd. That's what he's doing. That's what he's
This
saying.
is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Right. You have to enrich your database that way.
Bring together action and bring communities that never get a chance to meet and interact. Like my card. And Sal is a friend of mine.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Yeah, I will give this to Jason.
Yes. Where do you know? Glendale. Does he have a card with him? Because I can send you the information for Sunday night when I get home.
You know what? I can give you. Yeah, I'll just write it down.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
That's awesome. Who's being investigated for? That's awesome. I think this is such a
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
At least what we think happened. Okay, I don't understand why you have to do that thing because there's really cool stuff in there and all relates back to your book. You know, yeah, I know. That's what's so crazy to me. I mean, all the references it's all
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
really study what it says. A lot of times people miss out, but if you really study what that means, like get down a little deeper, it's all pointing to fulfill everything. 2 years ago, basically never read it. But I never
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Thank you. I'll grab that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
But Sunday morning, I go to the enough because I So, and then, 5 o'clock
This
Sunday.
is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was Catholic and I was in college. And it took all this sounds like basically my they took all the Bible courses in college. So I took economics, I took Bible courses. But what I didn't realize is what does that what did Josephus say? Like it didn't have much with actually studying the Bible, which I wanted to do. It was what's it? Exegesis. That's what it was all about.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
What was it like in the world? All that kind of stuff around it, but not actually teaching the Bible. So I literally took like every course on the early Christian. Jesus is moral. Oh, and that's
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
No. This was a propaganda for decades. And lower than rats. And there's rats and Jews. That was like 1933. Like 10 years before all this all happened.
So how's wellness?
This is a demonstration of Wirecast. 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 Of Wirecast.
What we just sang, kind of learned spontaneously, was what we call in Judaism nigun, a tune without words.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
But what makes it Jewish? I wonder if we changed not the notes, but the intonation, maybe the way we stand or we sit, we could probably make that tune work in your church, right? The notes themselves, there's nothing Jewish about that, and I imagine we could sing that tune with this Islamic bent, with a Muslim feel. Because tunes that we're familiar with are an expression of a particular particular culture, perhaps.
This is a
But
demonstration
the
of
music behind it,
Wirecast.
the music belongs to God. The music belongs to God. The way in which we get used to singing feels comfortable to us. It reinforces that which is known and familiar. It reinforces nostalgia. The music is universal. Music is the language of love, and music is the language of God. I think sometimes we might know that about music, but we get confused about it when it comes to religion.
This is a demonstration of
We confuse
Wirecast.
religion with God. A song is a particular constricted way in which the universal idea of music is expressed. And to me, religion is a particular, wonderful, relational, specific, familiar way in which the universalist notion of God is expressed. God is bigger than religion. God has to be bigger than religion.
This is a
Which one of us
demonstration of
would want
Wirecast.
to pray to a God who is so narrow that the only way God could be reached would be through this book, or that prayer, or this act of kindness, or that ritual? Is that the master of the universe? One of the things that distinguishes a open-hearted, open-minded understanding of all religions and a fundamentalist approach to religion is a recognition that we have an answer. But we don't
This
have the
is a
answer.
demonstration of
We have
Wirecast.
a path that feels right to us, and it ought to. It's not the only path. We have a religion which is one of the avenues to God. A teaching that I learned from a colleague who learned it from a friend of his, who was a pastor in Minnesota. I shared it from this pulpit before, so those of you who have heard it may find it familiar. And that is thinking of the power of God in a particular religion as an enormously powerful light behind
This is a demonstration of
with infinite numbers
Wirecast.
of perforations. If you step back from the screen, all you see are miniature rays of light, that neither of which are particularly impressive or warming or illuminating or wonderful. But if you put your eye up very close to one of them, you'll see the splendor that is behind it. But the splendor that everyone is looking at, the same splendor. It's just the shape of the whole is different and feels right for us.
This is a
And
demonstration
therefore,
of
I truly believe
Wirecast.
with everything that faith means to me, that those of us who take a more liberal understanding of what religion is actually have a more expansive and majestic understanding of what God is. Because if you believe that God can't be contained only through this particular wave of lulav, or that particular bend of the knee, or this particular recitation of the psalm, if God is grander than that,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
full majesty and splendor of what God could be. In the last 100 years, the Jewish figure, who in my mind most balanced and wedded the idea of a particularist religion and a universal God, was Rav Kook. He was the first chief rabbi, Ashkenazi chief rabbi of pre-state Israel, pre-state Palestine. He lived literally in two worlds. His home had a door to the front.
This
to New
is a
Western
demonstration
Jerusalem.
of
He wanted
Wirecast.
to be accessible to the young Jews and the old Jews of 1920s and 1930s Jerusalem who may not have had religion but might still have been interested in God. And the back of his house opened up into Mea Sharim, the ultra-Orthodox enclave of Jerusalem that was his own personal spiritual home. And his personal practice was pious and particularist and very firm, to use the Yiddish word. And his mind and his heart were more open than any Jew.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I want to close my words and open this evening with one of my favorite teachings of Rav Kook, which would take a semester to unpack. But even in a minute, you can get the sense of it. There is a person who sings the song of his soul. He finds everything, his complete spiritual satisfaction within his soul. There is There's a person who sings the song
This
of
is a
nation.
demonstration of
He steps
Wirecast.
forward from his private soul, which he finds narrow and uncivilized. He yearns for the heights. He shares the nation's pains, is joyful in its hopes, speaks with exalted and pure thoughts regarding its past and its future, investigates its inner spiritual nature with love and a wise heart. There's a person whose soul is so broad that it expands beyond the border of nation. It sings the song of humanity.
This
soul
is a
constantly
demonstration
yearns
of
for the
Wirecast.
totality of humanity and its glorious image. He yearns for humanity's general plan. He looks forward to its supernal perfection. From this source of life, he draws all of his thoughts and insights, his ideals and visions. And then there is a person who rises even higher until he unites with all existence, with all creatures, and with all worlds. And with all of them, he sings. This is the person who, engaged
This
in the
is a
chapter of
demonstration
song
of Wirecast.
is assured that he is a child of the world to come. And there is a person who rises with all these songs together in one ensemble so that they all give forth their voices. They all sing their songs sweetly. Each supplies its fellow with fullness of life, the voice of happiness and joy, the voice of rejoicing and tunefulness, the voice of merriment and the voice of holiness. The song of the soul, the song of the nation, the song of humanity, the song of the world.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And this simplicity in its fullness rises to become a song of holiness. A song that is simple and doubled and tripled and quadrupled. This is the song of God. Danielle?
First of all, I just want to say good evening and welcome. We're so glad that everyone could be here tonight to join us. My name is Danielle Berrin.
This is
I
a
am
demonstration
staff
of
writer for
Wirecast.
the Los Angeles Jewish Journal here. And I usually cover Hollywood, so I'm very excited to delve into these rich subjects that we're going to talk about tonight. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce our panelists. We have closest to me, Salvador Litvak, also known as your pal Sal, as I learned his email signature, and also on his cell phone voicemail. He was born in Santiago, Chile. He moved to New York at the age of 5.
This is a
He's
demonstration
graduate
of
Harvard
Wirecast.
College, NYU Law School, and the School of Theater, Film, and Television at UCLA. He has written and produced several films along with his wife, Nina, including the Passover comedy When Do We Eat? And Saving Lincoln, which was about the president's crisis of faith during the Civil War. Sal also happens to moonlight as a Jewish journal blogger called The Accidental Talmudist, for which he has developed a following of nearly 60,000 readers.
70,000.
Oh, 70. That's
This
I
is a
can't even count that
demonstration
high.
of
It's 40.
Wirecast.
We are excited for you to be here, and of course, this was Sal's idea, so we're thrilled. And then we have Jason VanBorssum, who is, pardon me while I read, entrepreneur, former investment advisor, animation producer, studio executive, digital media strategist, and theology geek. However, most excitingly, I think, is that he's now pursuing ordination to the priesthood with the Episcopal Church. He is a frequent teacher
This
and
is a
lecturer
demonstration
on
of
religious matters,
Wirecast.
and an alumnus of the University of the South, which I had to look up, is in Tennessee, and the University of the Redlands in California. And finally, we have Rahmi Mowjood, who was born in Sri Lanka and immigrated to the United States as an infant. He graduated from Claremont McKenna College with a degree in theater and biology, two very complementary subjects, I think. He also studied acting at the London Academy of Performing Arts on a Rotary
This
scholarship.
is a demonstration
and
of
then finally went to medical
Wirecast.
school because that wasn't enough university time. You guys are quite an educated bunch, I have to say. And he is currently a board-certified family physician. He's active in interfaith work. He's been a board member of the Muslim Public Affairs Council for 9 years, and he is also steward of the Dr. Rizvi Mowjood Memorial Islamic Studies Collection at the Webb Schools, which is an extensive collection of resources devoted to Islam, offered free to the public through the National Library Network. Now that
This
was a
is a
mouthful.
demonstration of
Okay,
Wirecast.
so let's give So the way I wanted to start the evening is I asked each of them to prepare a kind of personal statement that can give us a sense sort of what they're about, who they are, what they believe in, considering the subject matter we're exploring, religion and faith and God and spirituality and friendship across those lines. So with that, I just want to invite
This
you.
is a
Gonna be
demonstration
very
of
casual, informal
Wirecast.
evening. We encourage your participation at the end of the panel discussion, or perhaps if you're so moved during the panel discussion, you can write down questions. There were cards at the entrance table, and I'm sure if you need one, you can ask for one, but we'll be accepting audience questions at the end, so I really encourage you to do so, because we really want to hear from you. So with that, let's kick back and have a good time. Sal, why don't you take it away?
I would love to do that. It's certainly a tradition around here that when
This
we're
is a
learning
demonstration of
and
Wirecast.
starting, make a little l'chaim first.
Oh, thank you.
Here's one for you, Rahmi. Okay. Jason was kind enough to bring some material to me.
This is the first time I'm ever moderating a panel with Scotch. Love being here.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
No, I brought my own. Apparently it does a body good. So.
And in my tradition, the Anglican tradition, one drink is never enough.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
They're actually just really nervous for the questions. Trying to take the edge off a little bit before we get to the serious stuff.
So we'll make a blessing. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam she'achol nitiyeh v'tivarah. Amen. Chaim.
Okay, so
Not even full time. I don't need it.
all right, Sal,
This
why don't
is
you
a
start us
demonstration
off
of
with your,
Wirecast.
personal intro.
Okay. So I'm very excited to be here, and thank you all for coming, and thank you to everyone who's watching online. You said it was my idea. It was actually Jason's idea. It was a wonderful thing. We met through the page that I run, Accidental Talmudist, that Danielle mentioned. So just briefly introduce what that is for people who might not be familiar. I had a little miracle happen.
This is a demonstration of
Happened in
Wirecast.
2005, and just so that it's understandable, I grew up Jewish. I had bar mitzvah, but back then, sadly, I was not excited by religion. I was one of those kids that went through the motions and then wandered away from spirituality and religion as a teenager. And what's really sad about it is that I always considered myself a very
This is a
spiritual
demonstration of Wirecast.
person. And for whatever reason, the Judaism that I encountered, or what I brought to that encounter at that time, it didn't mesh. And I thought, tragically, that Judaism was not a very spiritual religion. It's insane, but that's how I felt back then. And I went looking for it in other places. I meditated. I did TM when I was in college. I was into martial arts. I went to Grateful Dead shows.
This is a demonstration of
All these other
Wirecast.
places. And I was just wandering. In 1997, when my grandmother passed away, who was a survivor, as is my mother, was my mother. My mother's with us. They were both survivors. And they were in Terezin shop. My grandfather did not survive. And so my grandmother was very, very dear to us. And when she passed away, to honor her, I went to Shul.
This
went to
is a
synagogue.
demonstration
Probably
of
the first time in
Wirecast.
my life that I went on purpose, since I wasn't dragged to it. And that day was incredibly moving for me. I actually went to Sinai Temple. It was a conservative show I'd heard about. And the service was familiar. It was just like what I'd experienced in my youth in some ways. But I was ready for it. And that day I was just weeping, and I felt connected to my ancestors in a really profound way. And so then I was
This
really
is a
engaged,
demonstration
and I
of
began to make up for
Wirecast.
lost time. I just started learning as much as I could, studying great teachers around LA. And every rabbi I ever heard speak says, the Talmud says this, and the Talmud says that. And so obviously the Talmud was this great repository of wisdom, but I really had no idea what it was, or even if I was allowed to read it. Maybe only rabbis are allowed to read the Talmud. And so every time I would find myself in the bookstore on Pico, the mitzvah store, 613 used to be called, I'm sure some are familiar with it. I would look at all these
This
volumes
is a
of
demonstration of
Talmud,
Wirecast.
Encyclopedia Britannica, and I would think, I'd like to read the Talmud, but I don't know if I'm allowed. I wouldn't know where to start. I was completely intimidated. And but this one time, the 15th or 20th time that I was in the store, I thought, I was an English major in college. I've read a lot of books. Talmud is essentially books. There must be a book one of the Talmud. I'll read that. So I found book one of the Talmud. I took it to the counter.
This is
The
a
kid at the register
demonstration
said,
of Wirecast.
You're doing Daf Yomi. I said, what's Daf Yomi? And he looked at me really strange. And I said, oh no, it's true. I'm not allowed to read the Talmud. I must look like such an idiot. And he says, no, the Daf Yomi, it's this worldwide program where people read the entire Talmud. It takes 7.5 years to read it, one page at a time. Read one page a day. Everybody's on the same page throughout the world every day. 7.5
This
years.
is a
and
demonstration
today
of
is
Wirecast.
day one. And I said, okay, I'll take it. So I walked out to the car. I found out that the odds against that were 2,711 to 1. I said, okay, God, I get the message. I'm doing Daf Yomi. And a lot of people start Daf Yomi, not so many finish. It's 45 minutes to an hour a day, every day, 7 days a week.
This is a
It doesn't
demonstration
matter,
of
it doesn't
Wirecast.
matter, do your Daf. And against all odds, I stayed with it. In the beginning, I really understood almost nothing. I would go to a class called a shiur. I couldn't understand what the rabbi was saying because every other word in his mouth was Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew. I certainly don't speak Aramaic. But I stayed with it. And year after year, sort of a little more comprehension came. After a while, I went back to that shiur, and I could understand what the rabbi was saying. I understood the concepts. And I just became so enthusiastic
This
for it.
is a
And as I was
demonstration
coming to
of
the end
Wirecast.
in 2012, I thought, it's so unlikely that I ended up reading the whole Talmud. I should tell my story because maybe someone else will do it too. And so I talked to David, and David Suissa, and I said, should I tell my story? It sounds like a good idea. He said, you've got a blog. I've never had a blog before, but okay. He's a name, I'll call it Accidental Talmudist, and just started writing about it. And this thing has just picked up steam. It's obviously not about me.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
What I have encountered. And it's just grown like crazy. The number that Danielle said, it's almost 69,000 today. And it's just,
Shopping it as a TV show.
and we are developing a TV show. We are. But what's amazing about it is that it's around the world. And two-thirds of the people are outside the United States. 2/3 of the people, I think, are not Jewish. It's hard to tell, but that's my guess. A lot of people are in Egypt.
This is a
Pakistan,
demonstration of
India,
Wirecast.
Mexico and Argentina. It's wonderful, and people just want to learn. And I think that, and I think the reason that they all want to learn is the same reason that we enjoy learning from each other. I think I have definitely found that we have more in common with each other as people who want to draw near to God than we do with secularists and scoffers in our own families. And that's why I'm here and why I'm so happy.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Thank you, Rabbi Kligfeld, and to your staff and to the shul for having us. This is really a wonderful occasion. And this came together really very organically. Rahmi and I have been friends for 25 years. We went to prep school together, web school. We did stage together, dramatic arts. Rahmi was much better than I. He went off to London to take formal training. And I met Sal through his
This
mom,
is a demonstration
Danielle
of
Berrin,
Wirecast.
theology. And a little bit of backstory. I was raised traditional Protestant Christian. My father was Jewish. My mother was Christian. Didn't have the opportunity to know my father until later in my life. I was 19. We were reunited, and then there was a break after that. And then we came back together when I was in my late 20s.
This is a
I reached out to
demonstration
my
of
grandmother, his
Wirecast.
mother, who was Jewish, of course, and said, "Can you please put us back together? I really need to have him in my life." And that was about 15 years ago. And that, for me, had an unexpected side effect. Namely, it inspired me to want to study and learn Jewish history, Judaic thought, and Judaism. Not because I was a spiritual seeker initially, but because I was interested in learning about and recapturing that half
This
of my
is a
heritage.
demonstration of Wirecast.
And the interesting thing for me is that as a traditional Christian, I'm Episcopalian in the Anglican tradition, and our liturgy is very, very ancient. It goes back to the 1st century, based on synagogue worship, really, of the ancient era. What I found was that as I studied Judaism and Judaic thought more and more and more, it contextualized and informed my Christian faith.
This is a demonstration
that I
of
think is really very
Wirecast.
difficult for me to articulate. And I often find when I'm speaking with or leading adult Christian ed classes, people who are either not very well versed in Judaism or don't have any kind of Jewish background themselves, it's almost like we sort of don't communicate fully. So when I get together with Jewish friends of mine, like Sal, my good friend John Schreiber, who Sal knows, who made Aliyah to Israel.
This
and
is
I-
a demonstration of Wirecast.
I feel a real connection that is very hard to describe. And I'm a very proud Christian, but in my tradition, one of the great modern giants of the Anglican tradition is, of course, Desmond Tutu, who is the Archbishop Emeritus of Cape Town. And he wrote a book, he's written several books, of course, but his most recent book is entitled God is Not a Christian. And
This is a
I can tell
demonstration
you
of
that
Wirecast.
sentiment raises many eyebrows in certain Christian circles. For me, it makes total sense. This is kind of what Rabbi Kligfeld was saying. If we believe in a God that we try to minimize and shrink to fit into our own sense of doctrine and dogma, we are creating God in our image. Totally backward. Totally backward. So it's interesting. In my own
This
tradition,
is a demonstration of
I have
Wirecast.
much more in common with Rahmi and with the amazing spiritual poetry of Sufi Islam, and much more in common with observant Jews than I do with many of my fellow Christians. If you take away the name of the person of Jesus, doctrinally, I practically have nothing in common with him. It's very, very interesting. I'll wrap up just by saying this. I'm privileged to serve on the program
This
group
is a
for
demonstration of Wirecast.
of the Episcopal Diocese of Los Angeles. And what I have found in doing that work is that the interfaith dialogue and the interfaith relations and bridge building that we do is so wonderful and holy, and fellowship is very deep and real. The interdenominational ecumenical work with fellow Christians can be very, very difficult. Very difficult. I think that's very tough. So again,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
House of God. We worship the same God, and we're friends, and we're brothers. We're fellow sons of Abraham. I'm very, very proud to be here tonight. This is the first of what I hope will be a long and interesting journey.
Well, thank you. Please. I'd like to greet you with blessings of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Opening up your beautiful space, God's space here to us. And to Jason, because Jason approached me through a community forum that he sort of monitors and runs called Four-Legged Stool. I remember we reconnected on Facebook, and he said, "Mind please joining the school? There's not a lot of Muslims on it." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, throw my hat in the ring and see what happens."
I knew that it would drive certain Christians crazy, so I did that.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I think that my journey is a little bit different, and it's typical for a lot of the journeys of people here or people that we know that have an immigrant background or an immigrant journey. I grew up in a very devout household, a Muslim household with my parents, and it was something that was given to me as I grew up. Prayers taught to me. I remember seeing my grandmother say these prayers over my brother's beds. She would
This
blow
is a demonstration of
she
Wirecast.
would actually get to my brothers as they were speaking. So she would say the prayers and go 3 times. I would think, my goodness, so beautiful. Now I have a daughter and I catch myself, I almost blow on her. But I think that there's, the immigrant experience for me was survival almost, not because we were constantly beset, but it was coming into a country where Islam was really not well rooted or known. So when I would tell my teachers,
This is a demonstration of
I
Wirecast.
still get to this day. You mean you don't eat for a whole month? I'd be a lot thinner if that was the case. So I think that I grew up in this sense of I constantly had to explain myself, and I was okay with that. And we come from a very small community. Being Muslim, you're in a small community, and then to top it off, we're from Sri Lanka, and you're lucky if 1 out of 10 knows where Sri Lanka is. And so that's always, people always
This
think
is a
you're
demonstration
Pakistan.
of
So our community was
Wirecast.
much even smaller, so when you come here, you start to figure out, well, where are we going to go, and who are we going to spend the holidays with, and then you kind of start moving with the same people. But one thing that stood out with my family was that we also moved with Christians, and we had Jewish friends, and I have distinct memories in my high school years of my parents being involved with an interfaith group, and they would meet regularly.
This is a demonstration of
And
Wirecast.
it was something that I absorbed. It wasn't something that was, you have to attend, you have to come. I saw it, and it was natural. It was something that made sense to me, because if everyone else around us had a different approach to God, a different approach to what religious empowerment meant, then there's got to be something that I can learn from them. And I would hope that at some point they would learn from me.
This
So I
is a
approached
demonstration
it
of
very
Wirecast.
throughout high school. As Jason said, we went to school together. We have some friends here that went to school with us, and we would definitely try to get speakers of different faiths to come. And I would be very open about being Muslim, and when things around the world happen, and as they are wont to do even now, I wouldn't necessarily back off. I would explain what my faith really preaches. And I think the most powerful thing, because I don't have a rootedness here,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
as far as generations, I have to go back to Sri Lanka. So for me, I really felt the power when I was in junior high school. I went to Mecca with my mom and dad. And this was to perform the Umrah, which is the lesser Hajj. It's not the full rites and rituals of Hajj, but it is a partial embodiment of that. And I remember, and this is very powerful because
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Circumambulating around the Kaaba, which is what Abraham used to do, which is part of the rites. And at one point in time, as we were doing this, before we actually left, we had been there and we had spent time in the mosque, and before we actually left, it's traditional to do what's called the farewell tawaf. Tawaf is the Arabic word for that. So I remember walking around the Kaaba and seeing my father cry. And here was this man that I looked up to, this man that I,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
probably didn't realize I was emulating, but when his relatives look at me in Sri Lanka, they see him. So whether I knew it or not, I was him. And here he was, tears coming down his face, and I realized the power of what we have. And obviously I felt strong because we're Muslim, but I also felt strong because we had faith. We had something that we believed in, and it drove us. It drove us to the point that it made us vulnerable. And there's power to that.
This is a demonstration
And I
of
see that now when I
Wirecast.
look in the eyes of my daughter or family members. I see that because that vulnerability is what really opens us up. And I think this is an immense step for the three of us in your beautiful home to be vulnerable and to accept that maybe we're not going to be able to have all the answers, and we're definitely not going to agree on everything. And you know what? That's what families do. Families fight, and families, Thanksgiving is not always turkey and cranberry sauce.
This is a demonstration of
Or
Wirecast.
eat whatever, holiday you want to insert. But that's good. And I think for the three of us, in the end, that vulnerability and that love that we have is extremely powerful because it supersedes everything. So thank you very much for all of us that are here and online, and I look forward to opening up the discussion.
Okay. Thank you all
This
for sharing
is a
that.
demonstration
Usually
of
I
Wirecast.
give them 3 minutes each, but they're obviously very passionate about the subject. So now that the Muslim, Christian, Jewish love fest has officially begun, I'm going to ask you for a quick answer. So put on your thinking caps. Describe the central tenet of your tradition in one sentence. Have a good evening, ladies.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Who's going to go first? Be brave.
I'll start. All right. So in traditional Christianity, sometimes referred to it as sacramental Christianity or liturgical Christianity. These are Christians of the Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, and Anglican traditions, and some sort of mainline Protestants as well.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And this is a statement of faith that was hammered out in the 4th century of the Common Era, year 325, in the city of Nicaea. And all of the bishops of the major episcopal sees from around the Mediterranean world came and they hashed it out and figured out what is going to be the central doctrine. There were some heresies and different opinions of
This
Christian
is a
doctrine.
demonstration
So
of
the
Wirecast.
Nicene Creed, the opening of the Nicene Creed begins, we believe in one God, the Father, the Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all that is, seen and unseen.
That was more than a sentence, but I will give you papal pardon on this occasion. Okay.
Gotta give me a little bit of, we put a microphone up here, we're gonna have to.
This is a demonstration of
The
Wirecast.
central sentence is the sentence that makes someone Muslim. When someone pronounces this without coercion and without force, freely of their own free will, they are a Muslim. You can't challenge that, ever. Whatever you see them do, whatever they don't do, it doesn't matter. If they have pronounced this is what we call the Shahada, and it's La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah.
This
There
is a
no
demonstration
God
of
but
Wirecast.
and Muhammad is his last messenger. You're a Muslim. I am Muslim. And so saying that,
He was coerced.
saying that makes you a Muslim by whatever faith, whatever force you apply. From that point on, then there are steps and things. But that is if you want to encapsulate it in Muslim.
Thank you. Sam?
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai.
This is a demonstration of
Hear
Wirecast.
The Lord, our God, the Lord is one. It's the oldest one, and it's been there forever. And it's what a Jew says every night before he goes to bed, and we're so blessed right before we die. And actually, I recently looked it up, and of course, Rashi is a little bit bothered by it. The 11th century commentator says, why isn't it, hear Israel, God is one?
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
God, our God, God is one. And he answers because not everyone knows that God is one, but that eventually everyone will know. Perhaps this is part of that guy.
So because this is the Sons of Abraham event, I want each of you to briefly, because we have a lot of material to cover, explain to us how you understand the figure of Abraham as a predecessor to your
This is
religious
a
tradition.
demonstration of Wirecast.
Well, Abraham, from an Islamic perspective, is, in my humble understanding of it, is the originator. When we look at the worship of one God, it's at Abraham where we start. Because it was Abraham's yearning for something more than what he was living, something more that his father was able to provide to him in the idol worshiping of the time where he felt there's more to this than this.
This
So
is
the
a
idea of
demonstration
worshiping
of
one God
Wirecast.
comes from there, and the Shahada, Nicene Creed, what shall also, all has that God in mind. So, from an Islamic perspective, that is a springboard to our own roots. And from there, I mean, there are so many different iterations of where Abraham is involved. In our daily prayer, Muslims pray 5 times a day. I think most people don't realize that in one of the
This
prayers,
is a
there
demonstration
prayer
of
that we say
Wirecast.
in every prayer, where we ask God to bless Muhammad and his followers like he blessed Abraham and his followers. And please exalt Muhammad and his followers like you exalted Abraham and his followers. Every Muslim in the world says this. Whether they realize that's what they're actually saying or not, it is ingrained in our religious DNA that prayer is there. And then if you go even further to that, if you look to the rituals of Hajj, which is sort
This
of the
is a
pinnacle
demonstration of
of what Muslims
Wirecast.
want to achieve, try to do that at least once in their life. With today's modern conveniences, you can do it and come back in 10 days. When my grandfather did Hajj, I think it took him 3 months, in the 30s and 40s, or sometime that time. And then long before that, people would be gone for years because the journey took so long. The Hajj itself, the rituals of Hajj, all are derived from Abraham and his life. Circumambulating the Kaaba, like I mentioned. Then there is
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
which is a commemoration not just of Abraham, but of Hagar and her search for water. So that's another rite of Hajj that Muslims have to do. And then the actual celebration at the end of Hajj, the Eid al-Adha, that's the Eid of sacrifice, the festival of sacrifice, to commemorate when God told Abraham not to sacrifice his son, but to substitute a sheep. And so that's why that's called the festival of sacrifice, because we sacrifice sheep and we give that food to the needy and to families. And
This
so
is a demonstration of
it's
Wirecast.
hard to do, but that really is a large percentage of it.
So in the Christian tradition, we often say that Christians are grafted onto the tree of Israel. And if Israel, Judaism is the root, Christianity is the branch. So we are fellow children of Abraham,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Connection with Judaism, but also because we believe in the God of Abraham. One thing I think is a really beautiful realization to remember that Abraham was considered not only the first monotheist, but the first Hebrew. And the word Hebrew literally means one who has crossed over. And obviously, in Abraham's case, he literally crossed over the river. And God
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Figuratively, he crossed over from polytheism and paganism into knowledge and relationship, covenantal relationship with the one God. So in that sense, all followers of the one God, of Abraham, are in a sense Hebrews. And so for me, I have a very real, unshakable connection and gratitude to Israel and the people of Israel.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Also, as a Christian who is half Jewish, I feel a kind of an ancestral pull as well. So my sense of Abraham is both creedal and in terms of my own heritage.
We only pray 3 times a day for cycles.
We pray 3 times a year.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
But in those 3 times, what we say is God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, and we hope that the merit of our patriarchs and matriarchs will extend to us. I mean, we're all just so imperfect, and you know, when we look back at Abraham's life, and we take so many lessons from Abraham. To us, Abraham is the patriarch that represents hesed, loving kindness.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I'd just like to note that I'm a member here at Temple Beth. This is my show, and I'm just so glad that everybody came. And so thankful to Rabbi Kligfeld for welcoming us, and you know, for all the learning and davening and prayer and rising that we do together. We all really try to elevate together. And so what Abraham represents to me in my daily life is this idea. It's actually a feminine energy.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
It's just putting yourself out there, sharing ideas, being willing to embarrass yourself, but just making sure that people are taken care of.
So I want to mix it up a little bit. I don't necessarily want each of you to answer every single question, so I'm going to kind of switch it up. But before we get to the switching up, I want to ask each of you to tell us 3 values you think your tradition emphasizes over all others.
This is a demonstration of
It
Wirecast.
doesn't have to be only 3, but think of 3 that feel quite central to your religious practice and your tradition belief system.
I told you it wasn't going to be a test.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly start with compassion. I think that's where Jewish guilt comes from. It's,
This
an old
is a
joke,
demonstration
but
of
It is
Wirecast.
actually said that the Jewish soul is one that is naturally empathic. You know, doesn't mean we're empathic and compassionate all the time, but there's a natural component to that. It's certainly one that we want to develop and bring out. Another, I would say, is study. I mean, there's no Judaism without study. When Rabbi Kligfeld spoke about all those holes in the screen and that you have to step up to one in order to look through and see what's beyond.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Keep looking, and you know, in that hole, you seem like you have to look at this hole and compare and just see between the holes. And that's why the Talmud has grown so large. I mean, there is no Torah without an oral tradition that accompanies it. And the Talmud, as a set of books, has been described as a photograph of a fountain. But it's only a photograph. The fountain is what we're doing right now. So I've always felt that
This is a
conversation.
demonstration
One,
of
everyone learns
Wirecast.
something that no one knew before. So we're going to keep giving answers to questions, but at a certain point we're going to have to start asking questions of each other based on what we're learning here, so we can all learn something new. And so I think compassion study.
That's good. I think that's
I'll stop it.
okay. So whatever comes to mind, it doesn't have to be three.
I got two.
Great, bring it on.
Two's a good balance number, right? I would like to say mercy and love.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And love as compassion. When we say, Bismillah ar-Rahman, in the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate. It is what we teach our children. It is what we say before we, I said it before every single one of my medical school tests. It is what we say when we wake up in the morning. It is what we say before we eat. It is what is the beginning of almost all the chapters.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Central attributes of God that He wants us to remember on a daily basis. I am the most merciful, I am the most compassionate. So if we're striving to be close to God, what better way to do that than to be merciful?
I would say hope, faith, and love. Hope from the standpoint of our sense that the world is broken. And
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
we truly live out, and show the world the relationship that we have with God. So there's hope that things will be better, but the burden and responsibility is on us. There's not going to be a transcendental hand that comes down and fixes everything. It's up to us to live out what we believe. Faith, I would just quickly make a quick designation. I think for many Christians and for non-Christians who look at Christianity,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
In fact, my understanding of faith in a more Orthodox Christian perspective is creed is belief. Faith is actually acting out and doing based on your belief. What in the Hebrew tradition, what's called emunah, I think is a much more closer sense of what the Apostle Paul was getting at when he talked about faith. He quoted the prophet Habakkuk, the tzaddik.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And then love, loving kindness. Sometimes it's translated caritas in Latin, agape in Greek. It's the chesed, it's the loving kindness.
I think we've established already that something that each of you shares is belief in one God and perhaps belief in the same God. Besides God, let's put that aside for a moment. What does religion give you that a moral, secular
This is a
philosophy
demonstration of Wirecast.
couldn't?
I'll jump on that. I recently heard a really interesting debate between Dennis Prager and Alan Dershowitz, sort of two great thinkers. And I agree with a lot of things that each of them said, and disagree with a lot of other things said. Professor Dershowitz might have said, I am a moral relativist. And I've said that proudly. And I just think that to me, that's unthinkable.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
That there's a right and wrong. Now, we don't always know what it is. We are imperfect in discovering it. But I think, I believe, that an organized wisdom tradition, which is what our three traditions are, in some sense is a pursuit of understanding right and wrong, living according to it and acting. And I think, I also coach my son's Little League team.
This is a demonstration of
You can't just decide
Wirecast.
you're going to pitch well and do it. You got to practice it. You got to throw a lot of pitches to find that strike zone. I think you have to be organized about discovering what right and wrong is. In the tough cases that's life. That's daily life. It's all those liminal areas where it's not easy to do the right thing, or it's not easy to know what the right thing to do is. I think the more you ask questions about that and form a relationship with a study partner, your family, one of your friends, and go over
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
What do our sages say about situations like that? You're going to find it strikes someone.
I have a hard time with that word secular. I find that secular and secularism is just an excuse almost. It's an excuse not to be religious all the time. To me, it's like, well, I'm only going to do this, I'm not going to do that. Kind of
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Kind of cherry-picking, in a way, the way I see it. To me, the importance of the code, the importance of following the faith is because you are trusting in God more than in yourself. Yourself as a person can be a very good person. And we all know people that are extremely generous and wonderful people that don't follow specified faith. But there's a reason why
This
God
is a
has
demonstration of Wirecast.
this might be a very simplistic way of looking at it. But I always wonder, okay, God said not to eat pork. And I smell bacon and I'm like, oh my God, that smells awesome. There must be a reason why God doesn't want to eat pork. So I have to trust it. And that's such a simplified, kind of juvenile way of looking at it. But to me, the code makes me feel, okay, God has a reason for making me do this.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
My own baser instincts, then I know as a human, I may falter. I may fall. I may not reach that perfection that I will definitely not reach, but at least I won't try. And so, to me, the code of faith, the code of the creed we follow, the religion we choose, gives us that roadmap that many people can follow even without a faith. So it's not a question of dismissing people that don't follow a faith, but from my personal history,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
that's the straight path. So in Islam, you want to try to stay on the straight path as much as possible, because you know that's the path to God and to what God has given for you.
Do you find yourself in that situation where people are eating bacon and you're not eating it and they're like looking at you?
Yes, and I'll tell you what, there is halal beef bacon, right? At a lot of butcher stores or what have you.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So I tend to think, well, God must know something, and I don't, because there must be something wonderful that all my my Christian friends know. So
Sunday brunch. Yeah.
So,
I just wanted to say something that Rabbi Kligfeld said in his opening remarks really struck me, and I think it was right to this point. He said, religion is the path, the means by which, I'm paraphrasing, the means by which we try to get to and understand God.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Was a brilliant man, and I admired him in many ways. But I think he got a pass. The last book that he wrote before he died, I mean, bollocks, the title of it was something like, God is not great. How religion spoils everything, destroys everything. And I thought the title of the book alone should have been challenged, because he was conflating God with religion. Now, if he had instead titled his book, God is Great.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I would totally do that book.
well, I'm glad you brought that up, actually.
Yeah.
Segue into the next piece, which is, I want to talk about two things briefly. One of which is, I think what we're referring to is biblical or Quranic, if you will, literalism, and what happens when the text gets read in a concretely literal way and there's no breathing room. And if you do read the Bible in that way, it can be quite a scary document on some level. So,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Reconcile the word of God with a contemporary modern religious life in the 21st century.
I'll take that.
And by the way, Rahmi, one of the things you brought up is cherry picking, right? I think on some level you have to decide what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how you sort of reconcile those two pieces in your religious life.
So in my tradition, in the Anglican tradition,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
The Catholic faith, the small c Catholic, as being metaphorically a three-legged stool. And the three legs of that stool are sacred text, tradition, sacred tradition, and reason, or intellect. We find that having those three legs in place provides some balance. We know there are things in sacred text which are very literal. There are things that are metaphorical.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Jesus, for example, taught in parables. A parable may not be a real story, but that doesn't mean it isn't very actual. So it requires discernment. It requires, from my perspective, the three legs of the stool, so that you have some balance.
I think from an Islamic perspective, people will focus in on what they want to see.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Let's go up from a 30,000-foot perspective. From a religious perspective, whatever religion, and not necessarily representing the sons of Abraham, but Buddhism and Hinduism and Taoism, anything like that, you will find anything in any book that will justify what you want and how you want to believe. That's a dangerous line to walk. And I think we all see that occurring. It's an unfortunate thing because it not only pulls religion out of context, it pulls people.
This is a demonstration
pulls
of
humanity out
Wirecast.
context, because now you are defining people based off of an erroneous interpretation, which is walking around the blind. So from our perspective, the Quran and the Hadith, which is the life of the Prophet, are the major guides. But if you approach your life without discernment, which is what you said, if you approach those two volumes of religious knowledge without a discerning eye, without an
This
understanding,
is a demonstration of
without understanding that
Wirecast.
the Quran is not a linear book like people expect it to be, but it is a book that jumps back and forth as it goes through chapter by chapter. So you have to really dedicate yourself to knowing that and understanding that when you look at certain verses or when you look at certain things that you might want to cherry pick. I mean, the whole purpose, and none of us are perfect, is not to cherry pick at all if you really want to follow the faith.
I want to talk for a moment about
This is a
anti-Semitism.
demonstration of
I don't know
Wirecast.
if you're familiar, but the Anti-Defamation League released a huge poll earlier this week that was widely covered in the media about global anti-Semitism. And basically, one of the many findings of this poll that surveyed thousands and thousands of people all over the world was that about a quarter of the world's population, which their figure was 26% of respondents, agreed with at least 6 of 11 negative statements or
This is a demonstration of
stereotypes
Wirecast.
about Jews. So forgive me for a moment, but Jason and Rahmi, I want to ask, what causes the history of anti-Semitism? What in your tradition do you think is unsympathetic to Jews?
All right, I'm going to make a controversial statement. I'm going to say nothing in my tradition. I know, people are going to look at me like that's a crazy idea. Nothing in my tradition. Our tradition of Islam has historically, and this is where I talk about discernment.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
If you look at where we come from as sons of Abraham, if you look at Jews and Judaism as the other, right? If you look at the faith, people of the book, there's a phrase in the Quran, Ahlul Kitab, people of the book, those are Jews and Christians. And if you look at them in a way that goes contrary to the beliefs of mercy and justice,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
now, that is here. How people behave and act is completely different. If you truly look at the faith, and if you look at the history of the faith, if you look at, and this is constantly quoted, but there's a reason why. If you look at, Spain, 800 years cultural history, look at the works of Maimonides, look at when Maimonides left Spain, and he went
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
In Egypt, and he lived with Muslims in Egypt because that's what he was used to, because that's what took care of him in his time. There are histories and examples of that. The problem is, as time has gone on and as politics has gotten involved, things change. That pulls people away from a discerning eye to a more narrow focused eye. And I think all three of us have examples religiously, and maybe even Sal can comment on this, of how that
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
approach anti-Semitism, anti-Islamophobia, which is the big thing now.
Well, actually, I was going to say the only, in this same poll, the only religious group with a higher, quote, unfavorability rating in the survey of Jews was Muslims. So, yeah. So, I wanted to ask you why you think that is. And one thing that I thought about is certainly in the post 9/11 world, we've had a radical rise.
This is a demonstration of
Extremism in religion has
Wirecast.
always existed, but we have had a radical rise in consciousness about extremism within religion. And I wanted maybe each of you to comment about the way that has impacted upon your own personal religious life, and in what ways does it sort of shore you up, and in what ways do you perhaps feel defensive or that like your back is against the wall sometimes?
How does extremism
I mean, I think it's in the sense, I think that on some level, Christopher Hitchens
This
brought
is
up
a demonstration
Bill
of
Maher
Wirecast.
is a, very famous, beloved, popular atheist, and I think that the impact of this rise in popular atheism, which I think is largely a response to the rise of religious extremism. If it's going to be extreme, then let's not believe in God's religion at all. All religion is extreme, all religion is bad. So how does that impact upon, again, a sort of contemporary religious life and context when this is the background?
Yeah, so I would
This
say
is a
that,
demonstration of Wirecast.
I feel like within the Christian tradition, there is a great deal of discord, and there's a lot of divisiveness. May not be as apparent to Muslims or Jews, but I can tell you that speaking as a Christian, I referenced this a little while ago. I feel like I have almost nothing in common with some of my fellow co-religionists. And
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I think is probably one of the most dangerous things in the world today. And here's why. If I believe that I alone have the truth, and that God speaks to me and is my ultimate political ally, I view those who don't share my tradition or disagree with me not only as wrong, but against the will of God.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So what do we do with evil people? Don't we try to fight evil and combat evil? So there's a very dangerous and murderous kernel in religious fundamentalism. It doesn't always manifest itself. John Donald Crossan, who's a great historian and New Testament scholar, has talked about this concept. He phrases it. He said, this germ, this kernel, starts usually with ideological.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
To rhetorical fundamentalism. And then pretty soon, you're ready for the third stage, which is physical fundamentalism. Now, very few people actually get to the physical fundamentalism, that is, acting out and being violent. But, if you start using language, that rhetoric, again and again and again, you're laying the ground for somebody. If that person ever gets power, or a dirty bomb, or a chemical weapon, you're laying the ground for them to think that they are.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Extremist fundamentalist view of the faith. This does not make God small. For example, in the 20s, when Hitler was writing Mein Kampf, he always spoke about Jews and Judaism as an infection, as a disease, as viruses. It was the language of pathology.
Always prior to genocide.
Yes. Now he didn't say, in Mein Kampf, by the way, Hitler did not say let's kill the Jews. But wait a minute.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
What do we do with disease? What do we do with infection? Don't we try to get rid of it? So then the next question is, well, how do we get rid of it? Or can we kill it? I mean, so again, this is the progression. The ideological fundamentalism, rhetorical fundamentalism, over and over and over and over again, and you're laying the groundwork for somebody to be a physical fundamentalist. So there's a very dangerous kernel, a genocidal germ within fundamentalism. And I make no distinction between Christian fundamentalism, Islamic fundamentalism, even Jewish fundamentalism.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Is targeted internally within the walls of Judaism. But I really don't make any distinction. Fundamentalism is inherently dangerous.
I really wish that we had more time. Obviously, these are very rich topics, and we can go on and on, but we are reaching the end of our time, and I want to leave a little bit of space for audience questions, if there are any. So to conclude this portion of the evening, I'm going to ask each of you one question to answer. Sal, describe God.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
There's no 2 sentences or less.
Okay. My description of God will actually commence by, I got to follow up a little bit on what these guys said, which is, how does extremism and extreme secularism, which I think are related, affect me in my religious life? And one of the ways is, it makes people uncomfortable with God talk. I mean,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
You get to talk a little bit more freely, but even, in any community, if somebody's a little more religious than you, they're crazy, and if they're a little less religious than you, they're Gentiles, I'm sure it's the same in the world. I mean, everybody looks up and down the ladder, and everyone's in different places, and so conversation gets stifled. I mean, that's the real problem. When people stand up and say, well, those guys make religion look bad, and so then religion looks bad, and then people who talk
This
in
is a
religion
demonstration of Wirecast.
and all of that is to the bad. It stifles talk. Okay, so if I'm going to talk about God, the first thing I would say, of course, is that God is completely unknowable. The best that you can do is, the best analogy I've heard is God is a dreamer, and we are the dream. Right? So if you imagine at night you're dreaming, you're having a dream, there's a whole world.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
There's all these people there, they're chasing you, you're chasing them, whatever's going on. Imagine one of the characters in your dream. What can they know of you? They can know something because they were dreamed up by you. So that something about the type of human that they are comes from you. But they're just a figment in your dream. They can never imagine the totality of you and what you are when you're awake.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So I feel that God is this enormously merciful and positive and creative force that wants to be known, that is loving, that created this world for the good, so that we could do good. And I think God relishes and celebrates when we do the things that only humans can do.
Jason, what's the biggest misconception about Christianity?
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
The biggest over here. Historically or now? Okay. I would say in contemporary thought about Christianity, I think Christianity is viewed as being very intolerant. And the irony here is that that is the complete opposite of what the gospel
This
teaches.
is a demonstration of Wirecast.
The core tenets of the faith are very clear. Unfortunately, people who are very bad actors with the loudest microphones and megaphones who go on cable news wearing crosses and screaming and hollering about the gospel and what their perception of Christianity is, they just make a mockery of it. So I would say, unfortunately, the view today that Christianity is intolerant is a prevailing view.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Rahmi, when you pray, what do you pray for?
When I pray for peace in my heart, not because I have a turbulent heart, but to continue to allow God to guide me, and that I would hope would be in a manner where I can continue to live life well. I pray for my family. I pray for the community in general.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
For the attributes that I would like to see in myself. So I ask God not to make me courageous, but to allow me to see when He puts me in a position where I can't be courageous. And then to give me the strength to do that. And I ask God not to make me patient, but to allow me to see a situation that He has put me in, and then He will tell me, okay, show me what you got. And I would hope that I can rise
This is
to
a
the
demonstration
occasion to
of
be
Wirecast.
I pray for my teachers. I pray for the prophets. In the evenings, my daughter is just over 2 years old. So we go through a number of prayers in Arabic and then in English. And we do a prayer called Allah, please. God, please. We say, God, please bless my daughter. My daughter's name is Iman. Please bless Iman. Please bless Mommy and Daddy. And we go through all the relatives, and then she'll mention all of the friends.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
She mentioned Kate and Molly, your daughter and your daughter, because she had such a good time. So she goes through it, and then we go through all the prophets. And so I said, please bless Adam, please bless Noah, please bless Abraham, please bless Moses, please bless Jesus, please bless Mom. And that is something that I want her, because that's what I was taught. And so when I pray, I want her to be inclusive, not exclusive.
Okay,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
for your thoughtfulness and your insight and your openness, and Rahmi specifically getting the vulnerability. I know that you're talking about some of these things deeply personal. So I thank you. I'm grateful. I'm sure the audience is grateful. And with that, we have time for a few questions, if anybody has. Okay, Diane. By the way, questions, not disquisitions. Please make a brief statement. Oh, no cards. Okay, we have cards. I wasn't sure how many we had. Okay.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Okay, since I called on you, we'll give you a chance. All right, collect the cards, and you're gonna. Oh, someone tweeted me. How fun! But I already asked this question. I think this is just someone repeating the question that I asked. What is the central tenet of your tradition? We did that. Okay, we'll take another card. Okay, fabulous. Okay.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Okay, this is for Jason. How do you reconcile your comments with the scripture of Jesus that says, quote, the only way to the Father is through me?
So that's from the Gospel of John, and a more accurate translation would be, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
also said in that teaching, my Father's house has many rooms. And he talks about there are other sheep of the flock that are known to my Father. I think this is where the discernment comes in. What does it mean to come to the Father through Jesus? What does that mean? Many Christians would say, well, believing in Jesus. Well, central to
This is a
Christian
demonstration of
teaching,
Wirecast.
in the Epistle of James, this is the brother of Jesus, who was the first leader of the early church, the church of Jerusalem. James the Just, Yaakov. And he was a Torah-observant Jew, and he wrote, faith without works is dead. So your creed informs who you are, what you believe in. But if you're not living it out, it's dead. The opposite of death
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
For those who believe that creed alone is the path, I think they're getting it wrong. Also, I would say that in the context of the first century, when Jesus talked about God, he called him Abba, right? Father. We know that's an intimate parental term. Many Jews use it today, right? He's daddy. It also means source or first principle.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I think Jesus was talking about not so much no one gets to my parent in a biological sense, but no one gets to the Creator, the one who created all of us, but through living out what I have attempted to teach.
Okay, another question from the audience. How do we balance giving our children a thorough, immersive grounding in our own faith?
This is a demonstration of
While at the
Wirecast.
same time exposing them to the diversity of other people and religious beliefs. And are you making those efforts in your personal lives?
Yeah, I think obviously programs like this are great starts, where you introduce children and young adults to other faiths, and not to the point when they have to think, oh, so am I supposed to choose?
This is a demonstration
Because a lot
of
us
Wirecast.
have known people where they've grown up and, my parents said, when you get older, you can choose what faith you want to. It's not necessarily for that. It's to be able to be healthy about knowing that this is not the other. This is your brother. Maybe, putting it that way. And just like you and your sister may not agree, you guys don't have to agree on everything, but we are still one family. So that's very, I think Jason likes to say, that's very kumbaya. That's not necessarily.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Introducing them, not keeping them secluded within your own community, but bringing them out, keeping them involved, and really understanding all three of these faiths. Central tenet, we talk about it. Compassion means you don't turn around when someone else has something different to offer. You turn towards it to look and see and to learn. So I think these types of events and having events like this that are geared towards young adults are huge in allowing them to see.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I think you got to be confident in the value of your tradition. You can't be scared to expose kids to other stuff because if they're exposed and they'll wander off. That just sounds so insecure. With our own kids, they go to a Jewish day school, so we're giving them the gift of Hebrew that we didn't have as children. I think that would really stand them well in their own learning in life. But you can't leave it to the school to educate your kid. And so I think that the most important thing
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
What the benefit that we get from religion, which large part is the benefit we get is what we give to religion. When you live for something that's bigger than you, when you have a sense of responsibility, kids get that. Kids are really wise. I mean, they pick up a lot of stuff, and if you say one thing and do another, boy, they're on that instantly. I think one of the best things that we do is, hey, we're a family. We have arguments.
This is a demonstration of
Almost
Wirecast.
always after we've had an argument, we break down that argument and talk about what happened and why that happened. That's something that comes to us from the teachings that we've learned, and I think it's one of the best things we share.
Just to jump on that, that's actually the perfect way of looking at how I see sort of backwardness in my interest in secular. Because you live your life daily as if God is watching you all the time. So God is always there. Because
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Right, so if I make a mess up, or if I say certain words here and there, I may have forgotten that God is watching, but 2 days later she says the same word. So there is benefit in looking at your life from moment by moment, second by second almost basis within your own religious identity. Like you live the model, and that's how our children will also see that.
Lastly, I'm going to combine the two final questions, so feel free to respond to
This is a
So
demonstration of
they're related.
Wirecast.
They're not exactly the same, but they're related. One is the question of how essential is community to your religious observance? Can you fully live as a Jew, Christian, Muslim on a desert island? And then the other question is, what is your tradition's custom for welcoming a stranger? How do you reach out to the quote-unquote other?
Well, I'd like to answer the second one, second point. There's a tradition.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
It says, if you have food and your neighbor does not, then that is not belief. I'm paraphrasing. So they were asked, and he was asked, well, what does that mean? Who is your neighbor? And he said, 7 doors down, 7 doors to the right, 7 doors to the left, 7 doors down. And when I say doors, it takes a greater context.
This is a demonstration of
You
Wirecast.
had a full plate of a dinner, and you had to make sure that your neighbors 7 to the left, 7 to the right, 7 in front, 7 behind, are also have to make sure they have food just like you. That's a very tall order. But that is a central tenet, where you have to be able to be welcoming to everyone. And there's no distinction about faith. And the Prophet Medina lived at the mosque, and there were people of all faiths all around.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And what was the first question? Can you live in community? I think you can practice your faith on an island. I don't think it would be very fun. I think that one of the joys of being in a faith, we talked earlier about what is the difference between following the creed and being spiritual. One of the wonderful joys about being in a faith is the community itself. And I think we can all appreciate celebrations that each faith has.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Like when we first moved to this country, and my parents had to celebrate the end of fasting amongst themselves, so a small community, and now there are thousands and thousands and 10,000 people at the prayers. It elevates your sense of identity. Such a great sense, I think.
I would say in my tradition, community is absolutely essential and necessary. The central sacrament for
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
called Holy Communion. Communion means community. It's communal. And in that sacrament, we reenact what we call the Last Supper, which was the last meal, the Passover meal that Jesus shared with his disciples. That requires community. Not only from a sacramental standpoint, but if we're going to live out our faith, John Donne, who was an Anglican priest, famously wrote, "No man is an island."
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Can be, because, again, we live in covenant with the one God. That means we have specific responsibility to live it out and show the world what it is that informs us. So I think community is absolutely essential not only for observance and fellowship, refueling, but as a way for us to exhibit outwardly what it is we know in.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
You can't be a Jew without a community. It doesn't make sense. We have blessings for there are prayers we can only say for 10 people. We have a blessing we say when 600,000 Jews are in one place. We're ready for that situation. We try to observe as many commandments as possible because every commandment is an opportunity to draw closer to the source. And so many commandments just involve other people.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
We can't show kindness to strangers without strangers. We can't visit the sick without a sick person. And then we say that there's special commandments that are so important. We know that a lot of commandments, we don't see the reward for them. We just trust that someday there will be a reward, perhaps in the next world, in the next life. But there are some commandments that we get a reward now and in the next world. And those include visiting the sick, visiting the house in the morning.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And a few others, and we remind ourselves of that every day. You got to do it in the community, or it just isn't anything at all.
So in closing, I intended to ask each of you to describe one thing you admire about one another's faith and one thing that troubles you. But in the interest of time, I will let you off the hook for this time and tell us, Rahmi, why don't you say one thing you admire about Christianity? Jason, you say one thing you
This
admire
is a
about
demonstration
Judaism.
of Wirecast.
You already said you're Jewish. So Sal, you talk to Jason, Jason, you talk to Rahmi, and Rahmi, you talk to Sal. Okay? Go ahead.
Really waiting for this.
What always puzzled me, it puzzles a lot of Jews. What do you mean Jesus died for us?
It's going to be a compliment.
Okay, fine. You can do either or. How's that?
I mean, honestly, I'll go with admire.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Where, as a result of listening to that talk, I did understand something I never understood before, which was awesome for me, which was, I heard you say that Jesus came along and said, listen, Jews have a mission. They still have that mission. That's their mission. We're not going to try to talk Jews out of their mission. The Jews have a mission. But everybody else has to have a mission too. And Jesus brought a mission for everyone else. That made a lot of sense to me.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
I want to know a little bit more, like specifically, what does it mean to you when people say, Jesus died for us? What does that do to you in your life?
When people say Jesus died for our sins.
Yeah.
So
what does that mean?
He's going to answer that in the part 2 section. That's what you can ask. And Jason is going to talk to Rob.
I didn't think we were going to get right there.
You guys can ask him. If you really want to hang out and point out.
I just mean your daily life.
So what
This
that
is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Keep going.
Very good. Okay. So I'll say one of the things that I really admire about Islam, my understanding of Islam, is historically its tremendous tolerance. When, for example, the Jews were being kicked out of Spain and Portugal by Christian monarchs showing Christian love, of course, it was the Muslims that took them in. It was the Ottoman Empire that took them. Traditionally, the tolerance of Islam and also
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
the incredible beauty of Islamic mysticism. When I read the poetry and teaching of Rumi or Ibn Arabi, I am almost just breathless at the beauty of their connection with God and their sense of divine presence. And I think that is something that's really magnificent in the Islamic tradition.
I can't take credit for that. I think, Sal,
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And that's what it is. I've always marveled at your sense of community. And it's not something that I feel like, oh, we can be like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how you have a blessing for 600,000 people when you're together. I mean, that's an amazing, amazing gift. That it is so specific in that way. And that your community has...
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Stay strong, no matter what. And there has been a lot of no matter what, right? And you can all sort of say that, but I think that that to me has been something I've always looked at and marveled at. Because throughout time, it's been something that has always driven. And even when you're looking around, you look at Moses, you look at the teachings and the things that we have been taught about Judaism. I mean, it's very prominent there about children of Israel.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So thank you, gentlemen, again for your intelligence and insight and openness. And I also want to thank our wonderful, attentive audience for being here tonight. I'm sure this was an enriching discussion for many of us in this room, and I hope that the dialogue continues. But some of us have kids to tuck in bed, dinner to have. So thank you for coming.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
phonetically like this is very close.
This is a demonstration of
I
Wirecast.
love the name. I love the name. Very good.
Your son doing
Oh, nice. St. Mark's Health. I know.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
We'll be in touch.
Wonderful. Thank you. You should. We would be privileged. Thank you.
My doctor was just thank you very much.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.